premise of this video is simple. How to use the Insta360 X4 camera for real estate video walkthroughs. Now, I've tested it on a lot of properties and shot in every video mode from the 8K to the 2.7 and under every frame rate available. And I'm not going to tell you. I'm instead going to teach you the best settings for your specific use depending on what part of the property you're filming and, of course, what goal that clip serves in your video. Before we get into this video at all, I want to go ahead and say that the video mode of the X4 outperformed every other Insta360 camera I tested it against. So if you clicked on this video because you're debating on buying it over the X3 or the One RS 1-inch edition, just go ahead and click the affiliate link down below and get yourself one, because the video quality is better than that of any of those other 360 cameras that I've tested, in my opinion. What's the deal, everyone? I'm Jeremy Deal, and if you're new here, I talk about being a full-time creative with a focus on running a real estate visuals marketing company and, of course, the gear it takes to do that. Insta360 did send me out this camera for testing a few months ago. Thanks, Tom. But all the processes and workflows I'll talk about on my own. Let's start at the beginning. The gear I'm going to be using for this is very limited and cost-effective, so it's a great starting point for those without a lot of extra money to spare. I'll obviously be using the X4, but the only other things I have here are the selfie stick, which most people already own, and the tripod feet on the bottom, so I can stand it up when I'm not using it. I'm also going to take the lens protective covers off of this because I want the cleanest stitch possible for the video. I'll set everything to direction lock and post-production, so it should not be a problem, but I like to be extra prepared for any time I might mess up in the process of moving around the property, so point this where you want it. The camera itself has an incredible stabilizer built into it, so a lot of the natural wobble is taken out, but be careful. Don't give that camera too much up and down motion when stepping. Try and keep the camera itself on a nice level plane throughout your movements, and your end product will look way better. Might as well give you some tips that might help the feel and vibes of your final composition at this point. Number one is to make sure to always point this main lens at the main view you want, just like you would a traditional camera. I do a lot of rotating at the fingers. Yes, it does shoot 360, but if you want a much easier time in editing and post-production, you can set that direction lock I mentioned earlier, and that keeps the viewpoint face the direction you point the camera. If not, the camera will always face the same compass direction, and it'll take a lot more fine-tuning work back on the computer at home, like in my old video. Since the camera does have an auto horizon level built into it, you can hold it just about any way you want. So the other big tip I'll give you is that when I do this, I hold it upside down. It makes the rooms feel a little bit larger, and if you're like me and using the GPS watch remote accessory, it makes seeing what's going on way easier. Plus, I find the weight at the bottom is easier to control smoothly than holding the weight all up at the top. I know we have not started shooting yet, but if you want to create the best videos, you always have to be thinking ahead, planning your shots, and more importantly, planning your route. Setting yourself up for success with proper planning is the best way to ensure you create the best possible videos. And if you want to access the absolute best plugin for creating real estate videos, then you have to check out today's sponsor, Real Estate from Motion VFX. Just one single plugin contains 95% of the effects I use in my personal real estate video deliveries. From super clean titles to the best pre-built real estate context I've used, this plugin literally has it all. Transitions, icons, infographics, lower thirds, call to actions, and a whole bunch of other extremely useful drop-on effects. This pack comes with 116 assets for just this one, and Motion VFX offers a ton of other packs too, including the free transition Luma that I use all the time. The best part is that it's installed through its own application, so they're the easiest plugins I've ever installed and used on DaVinci Resolve also. Not only are they today's sponsor for the video, they are also the product I use every day in my personal real estate company for deliveries and workflow. Check out my link below to get the best deal that Motion VFX is currently offering, and you can help the channel in the process. Now, let's get back into how to shoot with the X4 so you can get all these cool plugins working. Luckily, when you go into the video mode selection screen, the camera tells you to use the 5.7K for low light environments. Let me say, I put that to the test, and yes, I think for interiors, especially those darker properties, the 5.7K is where it's at. I tried both the single lens and 360 options here and found the quality to be the same either way. But when using that single lens option, you kind of lose that option to reframe in post-production. So I would recommend again to shoot in 360 mode for the best final video. The 8K is excellent for exteriors, and I use it whenever I'm doing just exterior shots. But for the transitions where I go in to out, I stay in 5.7K because I want to make sure all the interiors shine the best. I also like the 5.7K because it allows you to shoot in 60 frames per second for slowing down special parts in post-production, which you all know I love. But if you don't plan to slow down anything, then shoot it in 30 or 24 frames to save yourself some ISO compensation and get a few more grain-free images. Now, I keep everything in auto mode, and I set it to overexpose by 0.5, so the darker corners of rooms don't look as grainy in the final shot. Flat profile with no extra saturation and the sharpness as low as you can set it. The last decision you need to make is what your final video will look like. Do you want a bunch of small clips you can put together later in software like DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro, or do you want a straight up walkthrough video that you can easily edit the entire thing in the Insta360 Studio for free? That will determine how you shoot the entire property, but I can't make that decision for you. I personally choose the walkthrough method for, whenever I'm shooting these videos in this camera, but I'll jump into the office and pull up the Insta360 Studio software to finish off this video by showing you how to take your 360 clips and turn them into an actual finished product. All right, y'all, here we are back in the office. I've got everything pulled up. I've got the studio pulled up first, so I'm gonna go ahead and drag this in here, and I'm gonna talk to y'all while this is dragging in. Now, one thing to keep in mind is while I was doing this walkthrough, there was actually someone doing front exterior work when I first started, so you'll notice that I actually have different clips here. It's not all just one walkthrough clip because I had to wait for that guy to finish, and unfortunately, that's how it works sometimes in our industry. So I'm going to show you how to do the Insta360 stuff, and then for those of you interested, I'm going to move into the DaVinci side. The DaVinci side, everything I'm going to show you can be used in the free program, so you don't have to pay any money for that either. Either way, let's get into it. So here we are, and all I did is drag in my clip straight from the camera over here, and you can see these are all the edits I've already done, and I've done very, very minimal things. First thing I want to show you about is this button over here. We're going to click this top one. And this is where I was talking about direction lock earlier, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So let's get rid of this because I was doing something different. Here we go. So if you notice right now, when you watch it, it faces the view I pointed the lens to, like I spoke about earlier. But if I turn direction lock off, it will stay pointed the same direction the entire time, no matter what direction I face that main lens towards, as you can see right here. See how it's just showing the same direction. Now, if I go back to direction lock, it will go back to the direction I was pointing the camera. Something very important. You can also turn the flow state stabilize on and off here, but I don't recommend doing that. Once again, if you hold it upside down, it's going to make your stuff upside down like mine. And it's also going to remove a lot of the cool features that you bought this camera for, I'm sure. So there you go. Now you know about the direction lock. We can go ahead and close this, and I'll go into the look, as long as your direction lock is straight and you did good. You can hear the guy pressure washing right now when I go inside. But as long as you did all that correctly, this is not going to be a problem at all. Now, I do have a few little problems, and you can see right here. Let me zoom in on my timeline so you can see what I'm doing here. Is right here, I've made two little adjustments. And if you want to make adjustments in the program to where the camera is actually looking, you hover over with your keypad, and then, hold on, let's close this so you can, let's get rid of this one so you can see why I'm doing it. Now, see right there, you can see me pop up in the mirror, and I don't want to see that. So I'm coming back to here, right before the mirror shot, which is like right here. Then I'm going to add a keyframe, and that's with this right here. It'll pop up this box you just saw a minute ago. Now you can grab the screen and move it manually, or you can use the little dials right here, whatever you want. One thing I will recommend is always make sure that's at 0, because then you won't have any distortion up and down. You can still have the barrel distortion because this is a wide angle thing, especially when you get close to corners. So that's what you do with the keyframe. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to keyframe this over a little bit. So when I walk by, you can no longer, let's see, you can still see me there. So we'll go back a little bit more. We'll zoom in. Here we go. There we go. And we want it to be here. And we can go forward a little bit more. We can add another one. And that one will look a little more. Aha, we're going to have to zoom in for this one. So zoom in, you've got two options. You've got this one right here, which is kind of like the field of view control. And then you also have this one, which takes a little bit of the warp out. So I prefer to zoom with this tool. There we go. So now, whenever we play back over this, you should not be able to see me in the mirror. There we go. And this one, we're going to zoom in again a little bit. There we go. So now whenever I play back through this, you can't see me in the mirror, and we rock and roll through it. That's basically it. The only time you're ever going to have to worry about making these adjustments is whenever you can see yourself in things. Generally speaking, as long as you keep that camera pointed straight forward, you're going to have no problems when you turn on that direction lock. Now, we're going to go ahead and show you the whole video timeline again. These little nubs right here are your start and finish points. So for me, I wait. There we go. I kind of wait. There we go. I start moving there. So I'm going to grab this one into here and move it to there. And then I'll go to the end and go where I am right here. There we go. I want it to end there. Then all that's left to do is press export. Now, if you're fine with this, just the way it is, you can actually deliver this. But as I said, I had the issue with my front exteriors I had to actually do afterward, which are right here, and he's still working in the driveway, but he was working in this area when I was there. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to wait, but you know how it is. When this is your job, you figure out how to do things on the fly and make things work. And that's exactly what I did. So if we go back over here, we can go to the export button, which is right down here, press export, and this is where you're going to have your options. It depends on what you want to do. If you're bringing it into DaVinci Resolve or some other editing program and you want the most editability, or for the colors in particular, then you can go with ProRes. But if you're just doing stuff like speed ramping and you like the colors as they are, personally, I think the Insta360 colors look really great when you're using the flat profile straight out of it with very little adjustments needed. So I'm going to go with the H.264. Your bitrate here is basically going to be the quality of this video download for the best term of sense. So I actually cranked this all the way up and I shot this in 50 frames a second. It's naturally going to want to export in 30 frames for some reason, but I make sure I put it to the right one, and then you're going to have to pump this bitrate back up again and then press the export button. As you can see, this one walkthrough is 5.18 gigs. So I've actually already done that. We'll close this out. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pull up my DaVinci Resolve, because that's where everything is. Here we go. And you can see it right in front of us. Now, I'm not going to give you actually, let me see if I can just move this over here for now. There we go. We'll put me in a different place because you'll be able to see. There we are. Here we go. Now you'll be able to see what I'm doing in DaVinci in case you're to this part of the program. So as you can see right here, let's turn off my titles and stuff like this first. This is all laid over another track that I use rights from audio for, or actually this one is from Artlist, the one that I chose for this one. But I have two different tracks here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you basically how to do the retiming effect. So that way, whenever you watch it, you can see it goes zoom, zoom, it zooms in and out. These are what my retimes look like, just to make it nice and easy. I'll show you how to make these nice and simple. So what you're going to do is you're going to close this so you can't see it by pressing this right here. All right, so you're going to right click right here. You're going to go to retime curve. Now, whenever you select retime curve, there's actually going to be two things automatically selected. It's going to be the retime frame and the retime speed. Now, you can't see the retime frame because it's right off for me. Here, let's see if I can take this. There we go. Moving it all the way to the top of the frame, so maybe you can see it. All right, let's press this. There it is, retime frame. You can finally see it because it's not too low. We're going to unclick the retime frame, and we're going to make sure the retime speed is the one thing that's showing right here. Now let's go ahead and bring this back where it belongs. All right, so now that you've seen basically what it looks like all built out, I'm going to close this out and I'm just going to drag in the video again so we can start from scratch together. I'm going to double click it and see up here, and I'm going to grab the frame. If you want the video and the audio, you can grab just the screen. You want just the video, grab the frame. You want just the audio, grab the audio. I want just the video, so we're going to grab just the video part. We're going to come down here. We're going to right click again, and we're going to go to retime curve, just like I was just showing you. I'm going to get rid of the retime frame and make sure retime speed is the only thing here. Over here is going to be the part that kind of tells you how fast or slow. It usually starts off at 300. So we're just going to kick it right there for now. So let's just start right here. Let's say that right here is where we want things to kind of slow down a little bit, right? So we're going to press our little keyframe button right here, and that's going to tell us when to slow down. I'm going to grab this and put it up nice and high, because this is where we come in from the frame. So we'll come in nice and fast, and then we'll slow down when we get to the part that we want. Now keep in mind that this is 60 frames a second and 100% is 60 frames a second, but our timeline is much smaller than that. We want to be able to slow it down. So we can drag this down to like 40% roughly if you wanted to go extra slow and still have no problems. If you're noticing a little bit of issues, or if you forgot to record in slow-mo mode, but you want to slow it down anyway, you can come on over here to where it says retime and scaling. I think my face might be over this one, but change from project settings right here. Oh, you can barely see it, is optical flow, the one at the very bottom. That'll really help in situations where you forget to do slow-mo. It does some like interpolation of the frames in between, and trust me, that helps a lot. Now, I'm going to show you how you can speed back up. So we get to this point, and let's say, look, we slowed down a little bit. Let's go right here, and we want to speed back up. So we'll give this a nice little click, and we'll go back up to however high you want to go. Now, sometimes you may find that this is not fast enough. If that's the case, you can grab this little timeline right here, scroll it to the right, and that will let you go up to that percentage faster. So you can keep rocking and rolling. And the best part about this is that it kind of shows where your line is stopping right there. So if you think that's where you want to slow down again, you can put another keyframe and then grab it and drop it back down to that roughly 40%. Or however slow you want it to be. So now you've got, let's see, we want that to be even faster. Let's crank that up. And now you come in nice and fast. You slow down. And my computer's going real light. Hold on, let me close some of these other programs that we don't need anymore. Like that one in particular. Here we go. So look how slow it's nice and slowed down to, and then it'll crank right back up. Now, I'll give you one more little tip in DaVinci Resolve. If you don't want that to be so jarringly quick forward and back, you can grab these little nodes right here, and you can press this right here. And what this is going to do is going to add like an S curve to each of these. And this is what I do for all my speed ramping. I grab every one and I put an S curve on it. But you can go even further than that. You can grab this and see how they have these little marks out here. If you grab it and it glows, you can change the shape of that S curve without ever having to leave here. So what I like to do is I like to put mine roughly in the middle, or where I think is the middle of the cut, and then I'll grab each one and bring that tip straight to it. So just like that. There we go. So now we have a much smoother ramp. Now granted, my computer's lagging a little bit on it, but you get the point. And there we go. So you just go through, I speed ramp mine. If we come back over here and look, I can open up this retime curve again. And as you can see, I speed ramp mine to music. I like it to start before the beat and end on the beat drop. So that's what all these marks are. If you haven't seen these videos before, I've done a ton of them on DaVinci Resolve where I talk about how to lay out your real estate videos so you can easily do them time and time again. All that's left to do now is to go to the export page from DaVinci Resolve. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to the end of our frame where we want it to end. And we're going to press O. That's going to give us our end point basically for this video. We're going to go over to the delivery tab and give me just a moment while this loads up, and we'll be able to do the delivery process, and then that'll be it. We will be all done with this video. I've knocked it out super quick. So here we are in DaVinci Resolve. This is where you export the videos from. You're going to come up here and name it whatever you want. These are the settings that I export from. Here we go. I've got the QuickTime H.264. I export in HD unless they ask me specifically for 4K, because no one needs more than HD really, but some clients want 4K, and that's actually something you can charge extra for. 24 frames a second. I restrict to 4,500 kilobytes because that's what seems to work best for YouTube in particular when I post things on there. Here you go. You can see everything. And that is basically the end of it. You're going to come up here and press the add to render queue, and it'll bring it to this menu. You can see all the videos I create. So it'll be right here on the bottom. Then you just press render one and it will start rendering. There you go. And you can watch the entire process as it renders if you so choose. If you're looking for another video on the X4 using it for 360 tours on the Kula platform, you can check that out over here. And if you're just interested in how much the real estate market has changed this year, you can check that video out over here. Catch you next time. Boom!